This presentation is the third in the set of 4 presentations that accompanies the Framework for Early Warning Systems document. These resources provide an overview and summary of components of an early warning system. Researchers and practitioners have identified early warning indicators of poor graduation rates for middle schoolers, which include factors related to attendance, behavior, and academics. The Framework for Early Warning Systems document and the associated presentations provide a general overview of the processes Pennsylvania school districts currently follow on these indicators. An individual district's specific procedures may vary from the information presented in this general overview. This presentation provides more information about the collection and use of behavior data as part of the ABCs of early warning systems. Within school districts, there are 2 main supports that may work to address behavioral needs of all students: the Student Assistance Program, SAP, and the Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports, PBIS. Additionally, students with identified disabilities may receive additional behavioral supports through their special education program. These support programs provide protective measures to address the behavioral needs of students and to reduce the number of office discipline referrals, out-of-school suspensions, and expulsions. There are several relevant definitions related to school suspensions, including an in-school suspension, which is exclusion from the classroom but allowing the student to remain in school under the direct supervision of school personnel. For students with disabilities, this means that their specially designed instruction must continue with qualified personnel. Out-of-school suspension refers to exclusion from the school and/or any school activity for 1 to 10 consecutive school days. If the out-of-school suspension lasts for more than 3 days, parents must be offered an informal hearing. Expulsion. Pennsylvania School Code defines a removal of a student for more than 10 consecutive days as an expulsion. For expulsions, formal hearings must be held. When considering behavior data, the principal or the disciplinarian examines behavioral data from the school-wide system software initially and reviews the report to determine patterns. For example, data may show repeat offenders or common behavioral areas of concern, for example, gym class or inappropriate or abusive language. During the review, the principal may recommend actions. The principal or the disciplinarian may determine that the school-wide positive behavior intervention and supports program should provide instruction or reteaching on a given expected behavior, for example, inappropriate or abusive language. That a teacher needs additional professional development in classroom management, or that an individual student should be referred to the Student Assistance Program. When a student exhibits inappropriate or concerning behavior, teachers may refer the student to the disciplinarian, typically an assistant principal or principal, or to the Student Assistance Program team. For example, if a teacher notices that a student is withdrawing from their peers and begins to show apathy towards school, the teacher may refer the student to the SAP. If a teacher observes a student vaping, they may refer the student to the disciplinarian. In those instances when a teacher refers a student to the disciplinarian, the administrator meets with the student and completes an office referral form. Although there is no state standard form, information collected on the form typically includes the location of the offense, the description of the problem behavior, possible motivation or antecedent for the behavior, and the consequences or actions taken. The description of the problem behavior typically aligns with the infraction coding used by the Pennsylvania Department of Education for the Pennsylvania Information Management System, or PIMS. For example, assault on students, assault on staff, sexual offenses, misconduct, suicide, or possession of a weapon. Additionally, the consequences determined by the disciplinarian may be recorded as none, detention, in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, expulsion, removal to an alternative instructional or educational setting, remedial program, or other. For example, the first time a student is observed vaping, the disciplinarian may refer the student to the SAP to complete a vaping cessation program. However, for a second offense, the student may receive a disciplinary action such as a suspension. The disciplinarian enters data recorded on the office referral form into the school-wide software system. The SAP team meets once a week and reviews the referral. They communicate with the parent regarding the behavior and participation in the SAP. When permission is granted, the team may assess the situation using student information observation forms. In this way, they have a standard way of collecting information on behaviors from administrators, teachers, and parents. The SAP team meets to review the data collected and recommends interventions. These interventions may be part of the school-wide positive behavior interventions and supports, school counseling services, community supports, or other programs. Also, an SAP case manager is assigned for the weekly check-ins with the student. Based on the progress data collected, the recommendations may be that the student continue with interventions and monitoring or be referred for further assessments, such as liaison screening or special education eligibility. The SAP then follows up on the recommendations of the liaison or special education team. The progress within the SAP is not typically entered in the school-wide software system, but rather a district-created electronic tracking system. Furthermore, the principal or the disciplinarian may need to coordinate with the local police department on reporting some offenses. For example, should a student possess a weapon on school property, the student would be disciplined and referred to the local police department, as this may be considered an inchoate or criminal offense. There are additional considerations for consequences of misbehavior for students identified with disabilities. If a student with a disability is removed from their current education setting, whether for in-school or out-of-school suspension or expulsion, it may be considered a change of placement. This determination of a change in placement is dependent on the number of days removed from their current educational setting and their disability. For example, an exclusion of even one school day for a student with an intellectual disability is considered a change of placement, while the exclusion of 15 cumulative school days may be considered a change of placement for a student with an emotional or behavioral disorder. Within 10 school days of the decision to change the student's placement, the IEP team must meet to determine if the behavioral concern is a manifestation of the student's disability. Making this determination may include conducting or reviewing a functional behavioral assessment, conducting or revising a behavior intervention plan, or disciplining in the same manner as a student without a disability. In Pennsylvania, school districts that participate in school-wide positive behavior intervention and supports report data to the state through the PTRAC system. At the beginning of the school year, team members and PBIS action plans are submitted. Throughout the year, results of administered benchmark surveys are reported, such as benchmarks of quality, school-wide evaluation tools, self-assessment surveys, and/or school safety surveys. Then, at the end of the year, student and staff attendance, office discipline referrals, days of suspension, and special education referral data are reported. Additionally, SAP data are reported to the Pennsylvania Department of Education once a year through the Pennsylvania Information Management System, PIMS. Data reported are based on the SAP PDE 4092 forms and include information such as the number of referrals, cause of referral, referral source, and number of interventions. The aggregate state data are available on the PA Network for Student Assistance Services website. In general, the school district behavior data is reconciled with that of the police department. At the end of the school year, each district uploads behavior data from their school-wide software system to the PIMS system. This information is available to the public on the PDE Safe Schools website. To summarize, researchers and practitioners have identified early warning indicators of poor graduation rates for middle schoolers, which include factors related to attendance, behavior, and academics. As a result, such data are often systematically collected, reported, and analyzed by districts in order to identify at-risk students and implement interventions that will result in improved student outcomes.